AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Ever feel like the news is just arguments or nonstop tragedy? Plus, who has the time to keep up with it all? Well, I have a solution for you.
Welcome to The Newsworthy.
In just 10 minutes a day, The Newsworthy keeps you in the know about everything from politics to tech to entertainment, using its signature fast, fair, fun style. No wonder Harper's Bazaar, Fast Company, People Magazine, and more have called The Newsworthy one of the best podcasts to stay news savvy. Listen now by searching The Newsworthy in your podcast app or go to thenewsworthy.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Energy to Heal podcast, and we have a lot to talk about today. I'm Laura. I am your host here, a Master Certified Splankna Practitioner, nurse, mom of 5, married for 16 years, and we're here today to talk about the scariest subject in the world to me, which is fighting with people. It's my biggest nightmare. I've come a long way, but we're going to talk about all the things. But before we get into that, you guys know, if you've been listening, I have been all over the place lately. I started with a weekend trip to Minnesota with one of my very good friends, and then I went to Vegas with my sisters for my youngest sister's 30th birthday, and then went straight to Colorado for master's training. Wasn't even home for 24 hours before I got on a different plane. Came home. My husband then jumped on a plane less than 24 hours later to go to Texas for a work trip. He came home. He was home for less than 24 hours, and we went to Florida for a family reunion. We don't travel this often, ever, but all the trips just landed in November this year. And honestly, it was the funnest month of the whole year. I want to do it all over again. I hope someday, my dream scenario is someday I get to travel around and literally just come and meet all of you people and talk about all the things, emotional intelligence and spiritual health and spiritual warfare and splankna, whatever, everything we talk about this podcast. If I could talk about this stuff in person and jump on airplanes and meet people all across this planet, all across this country, I think I would love everything about that. It is hard with 5 kids and being gone a lot. That would have to be something that would work out, but I've loved it. You'd think I would feel, I do kind of feel like a mess. My schedule, my house, we're a little bit behind, but the traveling, I'm here for it. And every single trip was a 10 out of 10. There were no hiccups, no flight delays, no bad weather. Oh, just a dream. So before we start, I'm going to read a testimony for you. I touched on this story a tiny little bit last time, but I want to go deeper into it because I don't always get permission from people to share their story, because what we work on in Splankna is private and personal and sometimes heavy, and I don't want to just be like, hey, can I tell people about this? So if you have a Splankna story and you don't mind it being shared, please email me the story that I could read on the episode, because the stories are what are so exciting to hear. And as a practitioner, I don't want people to be scared to come see me because they're scared I'm going to tell their story. So just know I would never, ever, ever tell a story unless I have permission. This woman did give me permission. I had someone reach out to me. They were coming to Omaha for a sports event for their kid. And they said, I'm coming to Omaha in a couple months. When I get there, can I plan an intensive with you? Which means we're going to do a couple hours back to back. We did 3 hours. And I just want to target one thing. And I said, sure. So she drove from states and states away. We blocked off 3 hours and we just did as much splankna and as much prayer as we could in those 3 hours. And the thing that she wanted to target was anger, just this rage inside of her. She said, I grew up in a pretty electric home, not a very safe home. And now I'm a mom. I so deeply want to raise my kids in a nurturing, calm, safe, peace-filled, they know they're loved and cared for environment. But this like other version of me comes out when I'm overstimulated, when it's too loud in my house, when the slightest little thing happens, I just get triggered. And these words and phrases and actions come out of me that like I can't stop them. They are preceding any conscious thought I have to what's going on. So we tackled that, and I was so happy to tackle something like that because this woman's heart was so desperately wanting to be that version of herself that she knew was possible. And this is the text message that she sent me a couple weeks later, or 1 week later. She said, "Hey, Laura, it's almost a week post-session, and I have not spazzed out like I have multiple times a day prior to my appointment. It used to be multiple times a day. Now it's been a week, and she had not had one of those big explosive episodes." She said, "I got really frustrated today, and I did raise my voice a bit, but nothing like the rage monster that I have been. And honestly, when I did it, when she raised her voice, she thought really hard about it, almost like she didn't want to ruin her streak." She said, "I seem to have more space to react, and I don't feel physically bound by my anger in the same way. Like she wasn't imprisoned by her anger anymore." That is incredible to me. "I feel like our house is more calm too. It's been worth every penny that I invested into this Splankna session. Now I'm just feeling sorry for myself that I live so far away from you." Oh, that makes me so happy. You guys, in what world do you sit down for 3 hours, just 3 hours, and undo a lifetime of a rage monster living inside of you? I can't think of any other modality, not that I know of, that has that kind of a turnaround to it, like this Splankna thing and the way God uses it to set people free. I'm not saying it's not out there, but I personally have not seen it. And it makes me so happy to share these stories with you because that is generational changing stuff. Her kids are growing up with a mom who does not have that electric rage monster living inside of her anymore. Oh, it makes me so happy. Okay, so told you we're talking about fighting today. And what I really mean is conflict, but that's like the therapy word for it. And why we're talking about it is because it is a part of life that you just can't avoid. You are going to disagree with people. You're going to make people angry, and people are going to tell you. I mean, it's all part of life. It's in marriages. It's with our kids. It's our coworkers. We are going to disagree, and it doesn't have to be so scary. Most of us, I feel like, especially in the Midwest, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm a Midwest girly, so maybe that's just my frame. But most of us, I know for sure, we're not taught to handle conflict in a mature, grounded, and emotionally intelligent way. That's why we're going to dig into this, because it is such a necessary part of being a successful adult. Conflict is one of those things that can feel terrifying, especially if you grew up in a home where anger was unsafe, or people shut down around you, or it was your job to keep the peace. But conflict is not bad. It's not the enemy. And actually, and I mean this with my whole heart, I hope you can believe me, when it's handled well, like in a mature, grounded way, it can actually be the number one way to deepen your relationship with the person. It is the biggest, most effective tool to make a relationship feel deeper and more substantial, more connection between these two people if it's handled well. If it's handled poorly, it is the biggest, most effective tool to driving a wedge between two people. It is hard to put into words how important it is to know how to fight or disagree or conflict well. So we're going to talk about what healthy conflict looks like. If you've never seen it, I'm going to do my best to give you a framework for that. The common pitfalls that make conflict messy, how to handle it when someone's mad at you, and especially like what if that person's passive aggressive and they won't even admit that they're mad at you? then what do you do? Or what if they're just aggressive and they yell at you? And now you're trying to stay grounded instead of spiraling with them. We're going to dig into all of that. So first of all the ways that conflict feels so scary. So if you were never modeled healthy conflict, you might have grown up seeing a lot of yelling when people are mad or hurt, or the silent treatment, which would be more of that passive aggression. Emotionally shut down. That's different than the silent treatment. Silent treatment is like, I'm mad at you, I feel mad at you, but I am not going to talk to you about it. And emotionally shut down is like, some people get upset, triggered, hurt, and they can't even feel their own emotions. They just go numb, which means we can't make any progress, right? And then the other part is sometimes there's codependency or people pleasing, and that makes resolution and connection really, really difficult. I want you to know that the brain that is in your head right now oftentimes is going to perceive relational conflict as a threat, meaning my life is in danger. I am in danger. And part of you growing up is learning to tell yourself, I'm not in danger. Now, of course, this only applies if you're truly not in danger. Everything we're going to talk about today is in the context of two people who, for the most part, have each other's best interest at heart, love each other, and just need to work through something hard. Please hear me. If you are with an unsafe person, physically, mentally, or emotionally, then these little tips and tricks and learning, it's not going to work for you. The absolute utmost important message I could say to you is you need to be safe, and it is not your job to heal the person you're with, to convince them to get healed, to convince them to treat you in a safe manner. If you are unsafe, you need to get safe. In no circumstance is it okay for someone to repeatedly hurt you physically, mentally, and emotionally with no desire to ever change. Okay, so if you're in a safe relationship and there is a disagreement or a fight happening, your nervous system is going to probably go into something like fight, flight, or freeze. So we're not just dealing with thoughts. Your body is going to respond to the conflict, okay? It can feel to your body, to your nervous system, like you're getting rejected or there's a threat of abandonment coming. And a lot of that comes from our childhood imprints, how your parents, how your siblings handled conflict as a young child is going to shape how you handle conflict as an adult, unless you've been through reframing, counseling, therapy for that. Your childhood patterns are just going to keep being normal patterns for you unless you put intentional work into creating new patterns, which honestly is a huge reason why I love doing these kind of episodes, because if it can just be a starting point for you to create some new patterns in your life, that is a win for me. Okay, so let's talk about what healthy conflict actually looks like if you've never seen it. You may have never ever seen disagreements happen well, so let's talk about it. Okay, a healthy conflict is not fighting at all, actually. It is two people working to better understand the other person. Okay, so it's not winning. In fighting and in unhealthy conflict, someone has to win and someone has to lose. Someone has to get the last word. Someone has to really stick it to the other person. That doesn't exist in healthy conflict. Healthy conflict is like, whoa. Okay, wow, we got off track somewhere. You're hurting, I'm hurting. How can we find each other again? What do you need? What do I need? I want to understand what it is that you're saying. I want to understand why this hurts you so badly. It is also like, hey, I have a feeling inside of me. I am struggling with feeling rejected, feeling lonely, feeling disrespected. I don't know how to put that into words really well right now. Would you mind coming alongside me and helping me express myself? Will you ask me more questions so that I can communicate this to you? Here's some signs that you are completing an emotionally intelligent conflict. Your body is calm. Your heart's not racing. Your palms aren't sweaty. Your breathing isn't deep or shallow. You just feel normal. You feel calm. The communication is clear. Nobody's beating around the bush or hinting at things. Like, things are just being said. Ownership of feelings. We can just humbly say, yeah, I feel rejected. As weak as that makes you feel, as embarrassing as it is to say, like, I'm not this stonewall person that can handle everything, my feelings get hurt. That's embarrassing sometimes to say, but if you can just own it, it helps the conversation go by so much faster. In healthy conflict, you guys, there is no name calling. That is a for sure rule. Like, we got to have ground rules to disagreements. In your marriage, there is no excuse in the entire planet for a husband and a wife calling each other names, insulting each other. You are going to be on a fast road to that conflict escalating and being unproductive if you guys are name calling, blaming each other. That is a level of, honestly, just immaturity that needs to be weeded out, and there's no room for it. There's no excuse for it. There's literally no place where calling your husband, calling your wife a name is appropriate. It might feel just normal to you because that's what you've done your whole life. That's what your parents did. It's never, ever appropriate, okay? If you are listening to your partner because you're trying to understand them instead of listening to them in order to reload, meaning trying to figure out what you're going to say next. You want to listen to understand. The goal is, at the end of this conversation, you understand their pain, you understand their pain point better than when you started, and vice versa. Get curious. Get curious about why this person is struggling so much instead of defensive. If your spouse comes to you and says, hey, I'm having a problem with this, it really hurts me when this, fight the urge to defend yourself. Well, I didn't mean it that way. Well, I only did that because. That's not helpful in this scenario. There can be a time for that later where you explain. But when somebody is coming to you with a pain point, just get curious. Ask them more questions. Wow. What did you feel when I did that? How long has this been going on? What did it make you think of? When I responded that way, what did it make you think about me? Get curious about it. If you can do these kind of things, you are going to build trust and intimacy and safety and clarity in your relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or professional one. Trust, intimacy, safety, and clarity, which honestly, I can't imagine any human saying that they don't want more of those in their relationships. All right, so let's talk about the common pitfalls. I'm going to say things and you're going to be like, oh, ouch, I do that. Yeah. You guys, I am telling you this because I have been, for so much of my life, I grew up in Minnesota nice. Like, you can't ever hurt somebody's feelings, which means you can't ever be mad at anybody, which means you can't ever be real because it's impossible to never get your feelings hurt and never be mad. I had to learn this step by step. I have walked through and retrained my brain. And of course, I don't do it perfectly. I still absolutely dread if someone is ever to be mad at me. I never, ever get excited about that. But I will tell you, I have changed my passive aggressive ways over the years. Okay, so common pitfalls. One of them is assuming and mind reading. We assume somebody's motives instead of just asking them. Even if you think you know why they did what they did, just ask them. Hey, were you late coming home because you didn't really care what we were doing here? It feels like you knew I was holding down the whole fort and you were just like unaware or interested in what we were doing here. So you disregarded it. Is that true? Because they might be like, yeah, I kind of forgot about the time and I was into what I was doing. Or they might say, oh my gosh, no, I was late coming home because I got this phone call and it was totally unexpected and I had to take care of it and I forgot to text you telling you I was going to be late. The second one is defensiveness. Guys, we've talked about this, but honestly, if you research anything about human connection and healthy relationships, defensiveness is one of the fastest ways to scorch a relationship. Every time someone brings a pain point to you, if you just justify and you protect yourself, you defend yourself, you're making all of their pain about you. And I get it because it hurts you to hurt someone you love. It's painful to have someone you care about critique you and say, hey, what you did hurt me. It's really, really hard to sit in the yuck of that. Everything inside of me wants to defend myself when someone is hurt by me because I want them to see that I didn't have bad intent, or I'm not as bad as you think I am. Listen, I have an excuse for that. I have a reason for that. It takes everything inside of me to be like, okay, I'm going to hold that for later. I do want them to know that I am not trying to hurt them intentionally, but now is not the time to defend myself or explain or justify. Just listen and get curious. Kind of piggybacking on that is blame shifting. Instead of defending yourself, you might just shoot it right back at them. I'm not the problem here, it's you. You're the problem. I did this, but you did that. Don't you remember when you, even if what you're saying is true, now is not the time. It's almost like, you guys ever had those talking sticks when you were in class? Like when I was in first grade, we had this big circle we would sit in and there was a talking stick and whoever was holding the talking stick got to speak. And all the other first graders had to sit crisscross applesauce and just listen. If your spouse is coming to you and saying, hey, is it okay if we talk about something, where there's some conflict around it, I want you to pretend like they have a talking stick and it's their turn. It's their turn to express frustration or pain, problems, emotions, and it is not about you right now. It is not about your pain, your emotions. That can come next or later, but right now, they're bringing up something that if you guys can resolve it, it will make your home, your workplace, your friendship so much more safe. All you're worried about is addressing their subject. You listen to them, you understand, you do the whole full circle thing. Then later, if you're still feeling hurt by something, take a turn. Hey, would it be okay if I told you something that I'm struggling with right now? The next one is stonewalling. You guys, these are, I don't know if I've ever talked about it on here, but the Gottman Institute studies human relationships, especially marriages. These things, the Gottmans say, are the henchmen of the apocalypse. If you're stonewalling, blame shifting, defensive, all these things we're talking about, they're like, you are on a fast track to divorce or resentment, empty relationships, loneliness. We have to learn how to stop doing these things. You deserve a marriage that is thriving with emotional connection. You deserve friendships. You deserve all your relationships to be healthy. Your life, satisfaction, peace, joy will increase so drastically if we can just treat each other respectfully when conflict comes up. So stonewalling, you guys all know what that is. It's just emotionally shutting down. And it leaves the other person alone in their pain, in their confusion, in their struggle. You just check out. You're like, not doing this. Not today. Not ever. Leave me alone. I'm not doing this. In order to resolve conflict, you need two people on board. Stonewalling can't exist in a healthy, happy relationship. You can say, hey, I need time. I need 30 minutes. I need to calm down. I need to collect my thoughts. Can we meet back here in 30 minutes? But you cannot check out and stonewall and ignore the person and expect that your relationship is going to be thriving. Passive aggression is the next one. The definition of this, it's communication. You're still communicating with the person, but it is indirect. It leaves the other person having to guess, having to wonder. It creates a ton of confusion and a ton of resentment. Passive aggression is the very opposite of clear communication. Instead of coming to you and saying, hey, can I talk to you? I'm really struggling with something. You promised this and it never happened, and I am feeling really upset. I'm feeling really forgotten, hurt, whatever it is. That would be clear communication. Passive aggression would be, you come home or you come over to my house and I just won't look at you. Or all my peppy, energetic, smiley energy is nowhere to be found. And you're like, hi, are you okay? Yep, fine. Yeah, never been better. What do you want for dinner? And you know I'm not okay, and I know I'm not okay, but I'm never going to admit it. I'm just going to punish you with my silence. I'm going to punish you with my bad attitude. I'm going to punish you with removing myself from relationship with you, which leaves you guessing of why I'm mad, confused of what in the world is going on, and you're going to resent me because now I'm putting all the responsibility on you to figure out why I am having all these emotions, and that is just not fair. The next one is unregulated nervous systems. If you're trying to solve conflict while your body is in fight or flight, it's no bueno. It's not going to go well. Your nervous system might be unregulated because of the conflict you're currently in, or because you know that conflicts with this person have been very scary, very unsafe in the past, and so your body is trying to protect you. It can go all the way back to when you were a kid and conflict was very scary or unknown or confusing then. Maybe you're married to an amazing person. Maybe you are friends with an amazing person, but you cannot even stomach the thought of conflict with them because it brings up so much stuff from your childhood and you don't even know it because it's subconscious. Hint, hint, that is a great time to do a Splankna session because we can go back and undo the trauma and the wiring that got implanted into your body when you grew up in an electric household. And then the last one is unrealistic expectations. So, guys, this is a big one for me. I just wanted people to know. I just wanted to know I want them to know what I need. I don't want to have to tell them because if I tell them, it doesn't feel genuine. It just feels like they're giving me what I asked for. So I just want you to know what I want for my birthday. I just want you to know what makes me feel good. I just want you to know what makes me feel loved. I don't want to have to tell you. You guys, I get that, but it's an immature way of handling relationships. And I want to reframe that for you. If you tell somebody what makes you feel loved and then they just turn around and do that for you, that is so kind. Instead of making them guess what makes you feel loved, why not just tell them? Let them show up for you in that way. All right. How do we handle it when somebody tells us that they're mad at us? I'm laughing because my sisters and I talk about this often, especially my sister Carrie and I. Like, you tell us you're mad at us, we are so sad. We are so scared. So, what do you do? What do you do when there's a conversation pending and you know someone's mad at you? First of all, get that regulation in your nervous system. Slow down your breathing, relax your shoulders, check your posture. Whew. Tell yourself, I can handle this. This is just this is an opportunity for us to support each other better, understand each other better. That is going to be your best bet to having a good conversation if you can just regulate yourself. The other person should do this too, but you can't control them. You know, you can't control if someone else is entering the chat regulated. All right, next, you are going to frame this in your mind with, I want to understand what's bothering this person. I want to hear them. You're going to seek to understand. You're going to bring curiosity. When they tell you how they're feeling, validate the heck out of it. Like, take what they said and repeat it back to them. So what I'm hearing you say is, when I change plans on you over and over and over again, you don't feel like, wow, Laura's just busy. You feel like, wow, Laura doesn't care about me. Wow, I am so sorry. My schedule mishaps, my disorganization comes across to you as, I'm so sorry. That breaks my heart. You're just validating. Yeah, I can understand why you're sitting there, you've cleared your schedule, you kept your time organized, and I just cancel on you. I can totally understand why that would be so hurtful. Thank you for telling me. I'm owning it, I'm repeating back to them, and I'm validating their experience instead of telling them why they shouldn't be feeling that way. Okay, so that's like an ideal situation. Someone's mad at you, you work through it, great. We feel closer, we feel loved and heard. What if the person you're in a conflict with is passive aggressive? And honestly, I don't know if I'd rather be in an argument with someone who's passive aggressive or aggressive aggressive. Both of them bring their own anxieties. But the passive aggressive cycle is filled with a lot of fear of conflict, so you try to avoid it. A lot of suppressed emotion. So somebody or both people in that cycle are trying to not feel their emotions. They're trying to not admit they're having emotions. They're trying to just let time pass so that everything will just get better. It'll just get better if I just give it some time. Passive aggressive cycles are filled with those indirect expressions of emotions. So it's still communication, but it's going to come out in your stiff body language or your tone of voice, or I don't know, like your lack of caring for them in ways that you typically would care for them, leaving them to guess what's wrong. And this is what you can do in that scenario. So if you are dealing with a passive aggressive person, you can say to them, hey, it feels like something might be bothering you. As evidenced by the way you're huffing and puffing around the house and no, don't say that. But obviously with a passive aggressive person, it is pretty darn obvious if something's bothering them. So you can say to them, it feels like something that's bothering you. Is it true? Is it true? Are you upset? Is there something you'd like to talk about? I'd rather just talk openly about it than try to guess what you're upset about. You're inviting them to tell you openly instead of leaving you in the dark. You can say things like, I'm happy to work through this. It matters to me if you're hurting, but I need you to be willing to have clear communication with me. And then the last thing I would say is just be careful. Don't let indirect communication, don't let their passive aggressiveness pull you into this weird dance that sometimes happens with passive aggressiveness, where you are now pulled into this emotional labor that you don't own. It's not your emotions, but you're trying to fix them. It's not your experience, but you're trying to guess it. It is going to make you feel crazy and exhausted. So, in my opinion, the best way to handle that is like, I'm happy to work through this. I want to work through this, but literally can't unless you tell me what's wrong. And then again, we can't control people. So if they refuse to tell you, if they refuse to admit what they're feeling, they refuse to sit down and have conversations with you, there's not much you can do about that. You have to just let it go at that point. What if the person you're in conflict with is yelling or that explosive anger? I'm going to remind you, when you're dealing with that person, there is no solution or conflict resolution in this state of being. This applies with your kids, with a spouse, with a friend, a coworker, a boss. If someone is screaming at you or physically overcome with the emotion of anger, right now is not the time to try to understand and connect. Their nervous system is out to lunch. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of their brain where reasoning and regulation operates, that part of the brain is switched off. You can't be in fight or flight and be in conflict resolution mode at the same time. So if you have a toddler who is flailing on the ground, that is not the time to teach them what they could have done differently or speak reason to them. Their brain is not there. They can't hear you. It's the same for adults. Okay? So what you can do is just control yourself. You can stay calm, regulate your own emotions, regulate your own body, take deep breaths, coach yourself to stay regulated, even if the person you're dealing with is not staying regulated. If you need to leave, you need to leave. You need to stay in a safe place. Stay in a place where you can keep yourself healthy. Set an immediate boundary. Hey, I want to talk about this, but I cannot do it while we're yelling. As soon as you are feeling more calm, I'd be happy to work through this with you. I can't engage in a conversation where I'm getting screamed at. I'm happy to have this conversation with you as soon as your voice matches mine. I use that one with my temper tantruming toddlers a lot. I'm happy to have this conversation with you as soon as you're done yelling. Because you guys, otherwise you're going to get sucked in. You're going to start yelling at them too. You're going to start crying. You're going to feel beat up. You're going to feel terrified. We need a break. Okay, so offer a path forward. Hey, can we take a break? Can we just come back in 20 minutes? Let's go take a breather, take a walk, whatever we need to do. Let's come back when we've cooled off a little bit. Don't yell back. Do not lecture them. They can't hear you anyway. Their reasoning part of their brain is not working. Do not mock them. You might get tempted to get super sarcastic, to show them how ridiculous they're acting, to show them how they're acting like a little toddler. Don't mock them. It might make you feel better because you get to jab them back, but it's not going to actually help your scenario at all. Don't stay and tolerate disrespect. If you're a grown man and a grown woman, we should not be belittling each other. We should not be destroying each other. Like, we are in a relationship together, which means it is for both of our benefits for the other person to feel respected and cared for by us. So that's the number one goal. If you can't stay in a conversation and be respectful and act like a grown-up at the same time, you need to leave and you need to take a break. And that's on you. Remove yourself and say, hey, I need to calm down. That's what adults do. I need to calm down. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Would it be okay if we talk about this again in 20 minutes? If you're in a relationship with someone who just doesn't have any desire to have respectful, calm, loving conversations with you ever, I would really encourage you to think hard about that relationship you have with that person. If they are wanting to change, wanting to learn, wanting to be able to have a grown-up conversation, and they're working on developing those skills, that's a whole different story. But a lifetime, or if you have a boss day in and day out, someone who just knows nothing except for belittling people, and they have no desire to change that, I want you to think long and hard about the scenario you find yourself in with that person. Conflict reveals truth, okay? So this is that reframing. All the scary things we just talked about with fighting is why people hate it so much and avoid it with every bone in their body. But if you reframe it, conflict reveals truth. I can understand better where you're hurt and why you're hurt and what you need if I can just get through this conflict with you. I can understand better what matters to you because it's probably different than what matters to me. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different. And I am going to be better if I can understand where you're coming from. When two people can learn how to have conflict and it's handled well, you guys have this existence in your relationship where you're like, you know what? We can survive hard conversations. We're safe with each other. We repair. We are so good at repairing things with each other instead of tearing each other down. Your relationship will change. I've said it before. There's my friend Sarah and I, we took each other out to lunch many years ago. And we basically said, what is something that I do unknowingly that is hurtful or hard for you? And you guys, it was a nightmare of a conversation for me because I was not used to having conversations like this. I was terrified. But we each said a thing. We worked through it. I had no idea I was hurting her in that way. And it made our friendship so much better because I stopped doing the thing that she told me was hurting her. And it gave me this sense of like, we're going to be friends forever. If we can talk about this kind of stuff and we can just be honest with each other, we can honor the pain the other person is feeling. Literally, what could ever happen where we couldn't work through it? I had never really experienced that with a friend before. My relationships before that were like, if I hurt you, well, now I'm embarrassed and I can't talk about it and you don't want to admit it because you feel bad saying that it hurt. So like, we're just going to kind of slowly fade away from each other. And the friendship kind of just dissolves after a while. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with this. When to walk away versus when to lean in with someone. Lean in to a conflict when both people are willing. Both people care about repairing. Lean in when everybody's emotions are regulated and there's mutual respect. Both people are acting like grown-ups. Walk away from the conflict or just take a pause when there's yelling, name-calling, or aggression. When someone refuses to communicate directly, they just want you to keep guessing. If you're being manipulated in any way, shape, or form, when your nervous system is overwhelmed, you are not regulated, just take a break. All right, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope this gave you permission to see conflict in a new way, not as something to be scared of, but as something you can navigate with emotional maturity, clarity, and confidence when both people are working towards the same thing. Healthy conflict is a skill. So just like any other skill, you can learn it. It takes practice, but you're allowed to grow. You're allowed to not be good at it right now, as long as you're willing to practice. You're allowed to set boundaries. Not only allowed to, but guys, we got to be able to set boundaries. Healthy relationships require them. And you're allowed to repair gently instead of reacting from fear. If this episode helped you, would you share it with someone who's been struggling with hard relationships, tough conversations? It means so much to me when this podcast finds its way to the people who need to hear it the most. I had someone email me this week and she said, hey, I went on YouTube. You told me that your podcast was on YouTube now and I can't find it. And I was like, what? So I go on YouTube. You guys, I had all of it uploaded to YouTube and it was all set to private. So thank you for emailing me and telling me. I have changed that now. I put a link at the bottom of this week's show notes right to the YouTube channel with the podcast on it. And I think it's working now. If it isn't, please let me know. But I would love, love, love to have you guys go over there and follow the podcast. My channel is Laura Milliken, but under the playlists is the Energy to Heal podcast. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.